Violence will never get you anywhere.
Out there in YouTube, and welcome to my next Doctor Who action figure review, episode 23, and the first part of the Master trilogy. As you may have guessed, this trilogy is basically going to look at three variants of the Doctor's ultimate nemesis, the Master, and the first one we're going to be looking at, as you can see, is the one from the claws of Axos, and then the next episode will deal with the Deadly Assassin, concluding with Planet of Fire, which is Anthony Ainley over here. I won't be reviewing the Geoffrey Beaver's Master at the back there. I will just be briefly mentioning him, as I've already reviewed him in my Light at the End review. So let's start, as we mean to go on, by looking at the Master as played by Roger Delgado and the Axon from the story The Claws of Axos. So here we have the Claws of Axos set, which features the Master as played by Roger Delgado, a fantastic Master figure, and also an Axon from the Claws of Axos, but not quite. But the reason for that we'll get into in a moment. For now, let's just focus on the Master, as this is the most important figure. Articulation-wise, the head can turn left and right. Can't really do a 360 because it is hindered by the collar of his tunic. The arms can do a 360. They've got 360 in the bicep. They've got the arms can bend, and the wrists can indeed turn, but be very careful, as the cuffs of his shirt underneath his tunic may cause the hand to pop out like my Patrick Troughton did. So in the legs, they can go forward and backward. They can turn 360 degree at the thighs as well. The knees can bend, and there is no ankle articulation on this figure, and there is some slight torso articulation, but this is hindered by his black tunic. So the detail, well, I'll be totally honest, this is an absolutely fantastic figure. I'll just try and bring it into shot a bit more. The level of detail on this Master figure is fantastic. It is spot on to Roger Delgado. It's instantly recognisable as him, and I think it's probably the most impressive face sculpt that Character Options have ever done. I mean, some of the Doctors look excellent and it's instantly recognisable. This one, it's like Roger Delgado is actually in the room in figure form. It's really a brilliant head sculpt. I'll just bring that closer to the camera. As you can see, excellently detailed. It looks just like him. You've got all the wrinkles of his forehead. The eyebrows looking slightly menacing, painted with black with a grey wash over them. The folds on his cheeks, his moustaches, his beard is painted quite well with the two white flare parts on it. The little tash in the middle. You've also got his hair, which is black with a grey wash over it, which is very, very good. It really highlights the detail of the hair sculpt, and it just looks absolutely fantastic. Literally, this, when I first got it, I couldn't believe the likeness was so accurate. And the paint job on the face, just bring that there again. The paint job on the face is slightly darker. His skin tone is darker than on other figures, and the reason for that is that, as a lot of you may know, Roger Delgado was Spanish, so they've given him the darker skin tone, which I think I'm glad they did, as it may look a bit odd if he was painted with a normal skin tone. So that's the face sculpt, absolutely excellent, and I'll just give you a side profile. Really, really good on the sides, and I mean, it's just brilliant. I cannot believe how well done this figure is. So the rest of the figure is sculpted entirely in black, I've had a look at it, and the entire figure is a brand new sculpt, which is brilliant. It's a full new body sculpt instead of using old parts of other figures, like most exclusives do, this being exclusive from Forbidden Planet. The tunic, his top, his outfit here is sculpted on very nicely. It's got the pocket there, as you can see, and the two pockets at the sides, and the collar going down the middle, which is that is just highlighted a little bit on this outfit, which is very nice. Turn it around, you've got all nice sorts of creases, the flap there, and the line going up there. It's very nice. The collar's sculpted very nicely up to his chin. And looking carefully on his arms, you've got these little bands. If I just bring that closer, the bands on the wrists, which were there. I've had a look at this in the story, and these were here. There's a little button there as well, so that's really good attention to detail. You have the cuffs of his shirt underneath, which is a nice little touch, so it's not all black between the glove and the tunic. His gloves are very nice. They're painted in a matte black. They're completely black. You've got the three-line rigid bits there on the hands, which is very nice. I kind of wonder why they don't use this sort of hand sculpt and give Jon Pertwee his gloves. They could use these hands again, and you'd have the Jon Pertwee with some gloves on. There's an interesting little tweak to a variant, which they haven't done yet. And the legs are they're new legs. I thought at first, looking at them, they kind of look like the third Doctor ones repainted, but they're not. They're new, and they've got some nice creases there, painted again in matte black, and the shoes are also painted in a matte black as well, the shoes that he wore, so that's very good. So the last thing to really talk about with this master figure is his accessory, which is the TCE. For those of you who don't know what the TCE is, it stands for the Tissue Compression Eliminator, which is the weapon the Master uses to shrink people. He basically points this at them and they start to shrink and die. This was used in a couple of stories during Jon Pertwee's era, I believe Terror of the Autons. It did make an appearance in the Claws of Axos as a laser gun, which I'll go into in a second, and it came back in the 80s, redesigned with Anthony Ainley. So the TCE is essentially one piece of like tube plastic with some excellent details. I mean, you've got the black bit here, the silver, and then the little black band there, followed by a silver band, and then you've got this bit here where it thickens out, which is the point, which this is the spot where it fires. Some people think it's this end, but it's that end. And that's very close to the on-screen prop. Now, in the Claws of Axos, this is used. However, there is a disc around it where this silver band is here, and it is used as the Master's laser gun instead of the TCE. Why they didn't just release the laser gun with this set, or just have two of these with one tweaked slightly, I don't know. Could have been costing reasons, but I don't mind that. The TCE is the more famous accessory for the Master, so I don't mind him having it. And this just it will slot into his hand. It just slots in like that, and you can point it at Jon Pertwee figure or any figure you want, and use it to shrink people. And it's a very nice accessory that just slots into his hand. So that's the Master. Very nice figure. I'm very pleased that I've got this, and a very welcome addition. Best face sculpt in my opinion that they've ever done. So a very nice figure. And the next figure to look at, of course, is the Axon. So this is the Axon figure as seen in the Claws of Axos set. A very visually interesting figure. It's very good. I love the look of this figure. And it's a very interesting one in the real world as well. Initially, this figure was meant to be the sculpt of a unreleased Crinoid during Wave 2 back in 2008 or 2009, and it was essentially a builder figure with the arms, the torso, the legs, and the head. However, that ended up being pulled from the Wave, and the Wave being changed, so we never got the Crinoid figure. So essentially, this figure is not really an Axon, it's more of a crinoid, reason for which I will go into later when I talk about the detail. But they've repurposed it and repainted it to make the Axon. For those of you who don't know, the crinoids of Seeds of Doom were essentially the Axon costumes reused and modified and repainted. So the articulation for this Axon is the head can do a 360. You may get these little tendrils hindering it slightly. The arms can do a 360 and are on ball joints, so they can go out to the sides. This was the first ball jointed figure of the classic series. The legs are on a T-joint or a V-joint crotch piece, and oddly the feet are posable as well. And the torso is articulated, however I can't get mine to move. Mine's very stiff and I don't want this to break, as it's a very nice figure. So that's your articulation for this figure. It's interesting, and it's pretty standard for the ball jointed figures. One other thing to note is that the head is removable. There you go. That's the proof that it is a builder figure, as the head comes straight off. The other bits of it don't come off, so it's not completely like the builder figure. Otherwise the arms and everything would be removable, but the only way to do that would be to boil and pop it. But like I said, the head is removable. So the detail wise, well, I'll start with the head sculpt. The head sculpt is a very, very nice sculpt, very nicely detailed. All these bits and pieces and veins and blobs and these tendrils and everything, it's fantastically detailed. I mean, just bring it there. However, the problem with this being an Axon figure and reusing the crinoid sculpt is that it has a obvious humanoid face. You can see an eye hole there and an eye hole there and a mouth and a nose. And if we just take a look at a picture on the box, just there, there's no human features on the Axons at all. None of the Axons have human features. So the face is the real letdown of this figure, because it shouldn't really have a face. If you turn the figure around, however, you can sort of have it like that or like that, and it does look like it's more of a faceless, featureless monster, more like a blob. So you can do that and pose it like that. But it doesn't look too bad, the humanoid face. It looks okay, so I think I'll just pose it like that. The body is really interesting. You've got all sorts of different textures of this monster. You've got all the veins again, all these organs, the fatty lumps and blobs. I really can't do it justice. You have to have the figure in hand to sort of describe it. And all these different paint colours. It's painted in an orangey, pinky colour, and then you've got greens and blues and all sorts of different shades, like slight pale greys and stuff, to highlight all the different textures on this figure. And obviously you have these tendrils, these tentacles and things. This is in a green. This is another sign that it was meant to be the crinoid sculpt. However, it's now the Axon. And essentially, although they do have tentacles, and these tendrils on the back and on the head, Axons have got more thin tentacles all over their body and faces. It's more like spaghetti or linguine or whatever than like this. So it's another inaccuracy with the sculpt, but I can live with it. It looks very nice, and it's a little nice detail that these are slightly movable. The arms look very, very nice. They've got all the veins and blobs on as well. The hands are like they were, the little tentacles that if the Axons just walked up to you and brushed you with them, you'd die. The unit soldiers would die. And you can also do that famous crinoid pose like that, because the hands are poseable, although you need a crinoid figure to do it properly. And the legs are the same. They've got all these veins and blobs in this odd little piece there as well. And on the back it's nicely detailed again, with more tentacles and bits hanging from the upper torso. So that's very, very nice. So it's a nice figure. It's a good use of the crinoid sculpt, and it's rather ironic that the crinoid sculpt has been used to make an Axon figure when the Axon costumes were used to create the crinoids. It's rather a funny irony to me personally. But it's a very, very nice figure, and of course this was reused again and modified to create a crinoid figure late in a few years later, which I'll get onto in another review. So that's essentially it for this review. Just take a quick look at the packaging. As you can see, it's the new series logo. This is proof that it is very, very old, because they no longer have this logo. They have the classic logo. You have a picture of Roger Delgado there as the master, and a picture of the Axon from the story. And the backdrop you can't see very well because the plastic's in the way. You have the Axos ship and an Axon there and an Axon just there on the inside, a nice little insert from the story. And on the side you again have the same two pictures, the master from an Axon from Claws of Axos, and on the back you have some information about the story and the and what happens. I think there's a little bit of a description of the master and the Axon in there as well. Underground Toys, this is an Underground Toys exclusive, and again that side's the same. It's a shame there's only 2 images used on this entire box of the master and the Axon, as there are other publicity pictures, but that's only a small thing. Another thing to note is this is not the the carded thing. This is a box, window box, because the Axon, if I'm honest, this is a very heavy figure, so it's lucky that it came in this, as it would have just fell off the shelves. And if you compare it to other figures, it's very, very tall, possibly a bit too tall for an Axon, but that's a normal size figure with Roger Delgado, and that's the Axon, and it's absolutely huge. So it's probably good that they put this in different packaging. So, final thoughts. A very, very good set. It's a fantastic set. I'm glad to have. This came from Forbidden Planet, mine from Forbidden Planet Hanley. It is an exclusive, and it was a few years ago, so this may be hard to track down now. But my advice is definitely try and get it for the Roger Delgado Master. It's the first release of this Master. They did re-release the Master in another set, but the Time Monster is a dreadful story, if I'm honest, and you don't get as cool extras with it. You get the TCE and a few accessories, and you get the computer bank TARDIS. So unless you want the TARDIS, then get this set, because you'll get the same Delgado figure, and you'll get another monster, a very iconic, well, a very interesting visually, a very visually interesting monster from John Pertwee's era that isn't a Dalek or a Cyberman, even though he didn't meet the Cyberman. And also there is another set coming out from the Claws of Axos with the normal Axons and Joe Grant and a Brigadier. So if you want a complete Claws of Axos set, you may want to track this figure down. You can also get it online on Amazon. You won't be able to find it on Toys R Us, and you probably will be able to find it on Underground Toys website as well. So thank you for watching this review, guys. My next review will be the Peter Pratt Master figure from Wave 2. From the story, The Deadly Assassin. Thank you for watching part 1 of the Master Trilogy, and I shall see you very soon for part 2.